The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. My name is Cleve Gaddis, and I am coming to you from the balmy Atlanta, Georgia today. And on behalf of RISMedia, I appreciate you attending today's webinar where our topic is converting more leads to closings through systems. And I'm sure everybody who is on with us today, one of the things you think about the majority of the time is how do I convert more leads into closings? And we're going to try to answer that question. We've got a couple of great panelists, one from Minnesota, one from Oregon. I'll introduce those in just a few minutes, but I want to say to RISMedia, thank you very much for doing these webinars. I know you're doing a couple of a month. I wind up moderating maybe one every other month, and I try my best when I'm not moderating a webinar to make sure I'm on it so I can listen, because you bring in some of the best, highest performing big producers from all over the country, and when they share their knowledge, it is just like gold. I take pages and pages of notes. It's also not uncommon for me to go back and watch the video on YouTube. I have actually sort of subscribed to the RISMedia YouTube channel. So when you post something, I get a link sent to me via email, and I go back and watch the video. So thank you so much for doing that. Also, want to say a special thanks to Homes.com, who is sponsoring today's webinar. We've got a guest from Homes.com on with us, Tim Rabara. Tim, welcome.
Hey, thanks a lot, Cleve, and I'm excited to be here today and excited to see some of the great tips that we're going to be receiving here, converting more leads with systems. So it's going to be an exciting afternoon.
Well, you're going to be taking notes too, I guess. I know you're the sales manager.
I sure am.
Oh, good. I know you're the sales manager at Homes.com, and you connect real estate brokers and agents with over, listen to this, 12.5 million consumers monthly through brand advertising, lead generation, online reputation, and marketing solutions. Yep. I also think even more important, Tim, you are a piano player, which, by the way, I would love to know how to play the piano myself. And I have to say boo to this one because you're a Dodger fan.
Well, I know. I got to stick to my boys in blue. You know, we didn't do it last year, but we'll definitely come back this year. So,
you know, the Atlanta Braves are actually America's team. Now we don't win anything anymore, but we're supposed to be America's team. Well, thank you very much for sponsoring the webinar. Tell everybody at Homes.com that we appreciate you making it possible for us to bring this valuable information
to
thousands of agents throughout the country. A couple of housekeeping things. Make sure if you're attending that you stay on through to the end. We will have a couple of free training things and gifts that we will be offering you, but you need to stay on all the way through to the end, and then we'll tell you exactly how to log on to get a resource, one that is actually shared by Christine Browning and another one that's shared by Jackie out of Minnesota. So stay tuned all the way to the end. Also, if you have questions during the webinar on your control panel, your GoToMeeting webinar control panel, you have the ability to ask questions. You have a questions tab. Just type your question in. If it is an administrative type question, somebody from RISMedia will be monitoring those and trying to take care of you. If it's a question that you'd like to ask of me, of Tim, of either of the other two panelists, ask the question, and I will do the best I possibly can to make sure that we get all of those questions asked. So without further ado, let's go ahead and move forward. Tim, I'd like to give you a few minutes as we get started just to talk a little bit about Homes.com. I know you've got a special program. If I get behind in terms of the slides, you let me know and I'll catch up with you, okay?
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Cleve, and thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. You know, Homes.com, we have been in the industry for quite some time here, helping real estate agents and brokers match them up with some consumers that are doing their searches online. I'm sure everybody that is listening in today will agree that 87% of anybody that's doing any type of real estate research begin their search on the internet. You know, here's a true story. Just happened this past week. Keller Williams family reunion. We were able to match up with some of the buyers and some of the agents. The agents that are out there. And we set up one of the agents with our local Connect program. And the very next day, she got a lead for over a $500,000 transaction. So it was a great match for the agent. As you see here on the slide, 90% of page views are consumers actively searching for their next home. We
Now,
believe in quality.
Tim,
Yep.
I hate to interrupt. Now, do you charge extra for the big leads, or are they all the same?
They're all the same.
I just had
and that was just perfect timing, right?
Your first lead, 500,000. I love that.
Right. Well, hey, that was perfect timing, and I really I wanted to use that as a perfect example of just how our industry is when it comes to online searches, right? Because it's all about timing. I mean, you just never know who is going to look, who's going to look next, and just like how you put the slide up here this afternoon. What Homes.com has is unduplicated traffic, Cleve. The visitors that use our competitor's website, here's how I look at it. You've got us on the front page. If you're using any of our competitors, Realtor, Trulia, Zillow, keep doing it. Because why? Because you have another set of traffic, another set of eyeballs that's coming to Homes.com, and this is going to supplement what you're doing, especially if you're doing brand advertising. And I'm excited to hear about how we're going to close some of these leads through some of these systems here in just a few moments. So unduplicated traffic, that's what we focus on at Homes.com. We want to be able to attract the consumer, and 71% of the Homes.com buyers, they're not working with the real estate professional. And that's why we created this solution, so that way we can match up some of these potential home buyers and sellers with agents in their local market. So it's a great opportunity. I can't wait to share more about it throughout the webinar. And, as we talk about, the statistics here, where 68% of Homes.com buyers are planning to move in the next 6 months. We're looking for we actually work with transaction-ready consumers that are already in the market looking and just trying to find an agent to work with. So talk about some of the zip codes. It's pretty straightforward. You give us a zip code, something you want to be able to dominate in. We go ahead and look that up for you. You'll be featured on smartphones, tablets, and mobile devices. And it's a great way just to brand yourself in front of potential consumers that are looking for their next home. So we do have limited availability, Cleve, when they call in and they ask about certain zips. I do have a great offer today in terms of if someone does call in and does get a zip code. I've got a book written by our national sales director, Joe Sesso, Secrets of Top Selling Agents. It's going to give you a lot of tips, and it's going to actually correlate with what we're talking about here today when it comes to converting more leads through systems. So great. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited to see what's going to take place today.
And Tim, if you don't mind, I might pull you back into the conversation as we're talking to Christine and Jackie, because it's going to be all about lead generation and conversion, closing more business from the leads that come in. I am absolutely proud to introduce our first panelist, Christine Browning, who is broker and CEO of the Christine Browning team in Central Oregon, Bend, Oregon, to be specific. She's also the owner of Red Door Realty. I mentioned that even though it wasn't in her bio, because I freaking love the name Red Door Realty. She started in real estate, believe it or not, in 2009 with a background in banking, which doesn't necessarily prepare you for real estate. And 8 short years later, her 5-person team sold $54 million last year. A couple facts about Christine that I find interesting. She loves to travel. Just within the last couple of weeks, she actually went to Hawaii, where she earned her scuba certification, which I think is great. She also hiked the Half Dome in Yosemite Park, which is 20 miles with a cable climb straight up at the end. I didn't think anything of it when she told me a while back that she had done that, but the quote in the advertising says, the Half Dome, the hike you can't die without doing, and the one you're most likely to die while doing. That took some guts to do that, Christine.
Truly. It was quite an experience.
Congratulations and welcome. We appreciate you taking your time to give so generously and educate people. Now, I happen to know you. I actually am your coach, and so you and I work fairly closely together, especially over the last year. And I know you are a systems queen. Talk to us about when you first got into real estate, how you were a little bit overwhelmed by what was going on, and how you really sort of were forced to get into using systems for pretty much everything.
Yeah, well, I got into the business with this crazy idea to specialize in short sales because of my banking background. And within a very short amount of time, I think within 6 months, I had 80 short sales that I was working, which sounds great, but it was actually a complete nightmare. And I was putting in 14, 15-hour days and trying to hire assistants to process them. And My voicemail on my cell phone was full day and night. Other agents were upset, sellers were upset, buyers were upset. And I was just working. And I hit a point in 2010 where I wondered, how could I possibly do more business? I was already working 7 days a week. I couldn't keep up on what I was doing, didn't feel like I was properly responding to other realtors and buyer inquiries. And there were no additional minutes or hours in the day. And I thought, boy, how do people out there, take their production and then double it and then double it again and then double it again. And I was hearing numbers of people closing over 50 million and even over 100 million. And I thought, man, that is crazy. And so that's when, I sought out coaching, and I also started implementing systems and processes to build efficiencies in the business.
So what's interesting to me, Christine, is that you had phenomenal success. I'm not sure, by the way, if maybe you're a slow learner or what, but I don't think 2009 was the best year to start in real estate. It might have been one of the worst because it continued to get worse in 2010 and 2011. But what's interesting is you had lots of business, and even the act of having lots of business creates its own complications. And so what was sort of the first thing you did? It's my understanding that you decided, hey, I need to get some people to help me with these systems. So talk about that, because a lot of people who are listening, we've got lots of agents on with us today. They're scared of how do I create this overhead, and how am I responsible for a team and buyer's agents, because I can hardly feed myself. So how did you talk to us about this process?
Oh my gosh. And what's interesting is our business and industry as a whole has changed and changed again since 2009, just in 8 short years. When I first started, there wasn't even DocuSign or Zip forms or some of the systems we have now that do actually make our life easier. One of my first and primary concerns was what I would do with buyer leads. So back in 2009, 2010, lead gen, like homes.com, was if it was available, I wasn't aware of it.
Okay. It wasn't as common.
Yeah, online leads were not something that I heard about. Maybe Boomtown or was just coming, but anyways, it was kind of a new concept. But what I did have is tons and tons of buyer phone calls and emails off the listings that I had taken, which were distressed listings, which created a whole lot of interest just in their own. And then I did not have any system or way to keep track of those buyers, their name, their phone number, their email, their interest, their price range. And then I'd go out and, it was sometimes I'd list 3 or 4 homes in one day. And I think, gosh, if only I had some way of tracking those buyer leads, then I could email them or contact them and say, I just listed these properties. Do you guys have any interest? Do you want to take a first look before I go live? Because I would often stick these on MLS, and next thing you know, you have 12 offers from other offices. And I'm going, boy, and at that time, I'd hired an assistant, and I had brought on a buyer's agent. So we wanted to expand our business, and I didn't have any way to track those leads that were coming in.
And so what did you do initially to make sure that you were tracking and working all the leads the way you needed to? What were your first few systems that you used, or what was because I know if I was an agent, I was listening, I would be like, what did she do first? Because what a great problem. First of all, you're working on the listing side of the business. You're generating a lot of buyer interest. And a lot of people, I hate to say it because it sounds like I'm talking badly about our industry, but would just be like, oh, whatever, somebody else can work the buyers. But you're thinking, hey, what a great opportunity. I don't want to lose these people. So what did you do first?
Well, top producer, I don't.
Okay.
It was the first CRM system that was recommended to me by my coach back then. And we did the best we could to take down the buyer information and get it input into our top producer. But any CRM, I mean, it was the very first one that I used. And
first one I used too.
When I saw, I mean, in the beginning of my business, I literally closed 0 buyer transactions. It was all seller listings. And then as time went on with using Top Producer or using a CRM, my percentage of buyer transactions continued to grow to where it was 25% buyer transactions, then 50% buyer transactions, and then 100, 1-to-1, like for every listing, now I've closed a buyer transaction. So I think tracking your buyer leads on a CRM and then keeping in touch with those leads is, a big part of growing that side of your business.
And so, Christine, when I talk to the average agent and I say, okay, well, let's talk about the leads that you got, in the last week, then they take out their purse and they pull out 3 Post-it notepads and they take their binder that they take with them and they flip through 3 or 4 pages and they've got, 6 or 7 different notes in different places. How did you get yourself to get the discipline of putting things in the right place? I mean, how did you, because you went from not having anything to thinking I got to put everything over here. How did you get yourself to do it?
Well, it wasn't easy. And there was, there was a lot of business that was missed because it didn't all get entered. We did the best we could.
Okay,
and it really came down to once a day. I think back then it was probably when I was sitting down and having my wine, I'd go through my notes and go through my cell phone record and input what I could into the system. And so it wasn't perfect. However, finally I was tracking at least some of those buyer leads. You fast forward now and buyer lead sources such as homes.com does a great job because they track all the buyer information for you within their back-end system. So you're not having to necessarily go through notepads on those online leads. It's easier. Now we still do get buyer calls, and those I actually get a lot of texts as well. So I still find myself at the end of the day going through my phone and going through my notepad and making sure that I have documented as best as possible.
But you're getting them into the system where you have them in a place where you can go and follow up. I want to let you know that a gentleman named Denny said he had to jump off the call, but he's liking what he's hearing so much that he wants to make sure he gets a link. I think that's great, Christine. He must be interested in what you have to say. And then D typed a question and wants to know, what CRM system do you currently use in your business?
I use Follow Up Boss.
Okay. And how long have you been using that system?
Oh gosh, at least 2 years, maybe longer.
Okay.
Time just flies in this business. What I was using Top Producer for quite a bit of time, but over time I ended up with multiple lead sources. So I receive online leads from, it might be from Zillow, and then it might be from homes.com, and then another one might be from my 800 phone number call-in on listings. And so I ended up, at one point, I think I had about 8 different sources of leads coming in. And what had happened is I was using each of those systems and their back-end systems, but I had to be a specialist on 8 back-end systems. And when I wanted to review my leads or follow up on leads, I was having to log into all these different back-end systems.
Oh my
Follow
goodness.
Up Boss is not a lead generator like homes.com, but Follow Up Boss offered kind of the keeper of all leads coming in, and they automatically dump into Follow Up Boss from all of those different sources. And then Follow Up Boss tracks my email as well as my team members' emails and keeps it in the system. So I open up Follow-Up Boss. I can check and make sure when leads have come in, if they've been contacted or not contacted. And then when I get an inquiry on a lead or I'm following up, I can pull up that lead and see all email correspondence between my team members, between me. It tracks everything.
And
so,
you can see, Christine, sorry to interrupt, but if they're making calls and putting notes in there, you can see that. If they're sending text message, you can see that, right? Hey, I'm going to change gears. I'm going to change gears for 1 second, Christine. Hey, Tim, let me ask you. I shouldn't ask you this in front of 600 or 700 people, but I would assume Homes.com will sync up with most of the big CRMs out there. So if someone was generating leads through your system, they would go directly for Christine, for example, into her Follow-Up Boss. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. We do have an integration system. Of course, I don't want to get too technical. We got some coding and things like that we've got to apply. But the system we could integrate with some of the big names that are out there, whatever system they may have. The best thing to do is, if an agent wants to call and we want to be able to go over what backend systems they're using, we can somehow integrate some of our systems together, so that way it'll all be actually used together. Especially now with the boom of social media, we got that going too. Go ahead, Cleve.
Tim, I'm glad you didn't use the word coding more than once, because half the attendees went to sleep when you mentioned
yeah,
coding.
I know,
Christine,
right?
I'm so sorry, Christine. Let me jump back over to you. So, as you got started with that process, and you stressed this to me, and I think this is gold for anybody who is listening. When you start the process of trying to improve, it always feels like you're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Talk about that, and how did you get over? Because I'm sure when you started trying to keep up with your leads, it was a huge learning curve for you, for your team, for your assistants, because your team was all fresh. Well, how do you stay focused and keep moving forward and not sort of give up and say, well, I'll just go do something else?
Well, it is tough, and you hope it's 2 steps forward and only 1 step back, but I will tell you, I often feel like it's 3 steps back before you can make any forward progress, and I think I'm probably not alone in feeling that way.
I'm sure you're not alone.
Truly, to build these systems, you do have to slow down or make time to incorporate them into your business. There's always a learning curve in figuring it out, and it takes more time in the beginning to implement it. Eventually, you look back over your shoulder and wonder how you ever lived without it. And I can't think of any systems that I use that I don't feel that way about. That typically, when you first start using it, it can be pretty painful. And it really comes down to blocking time out and saying, okay, when I'm at my freshest, for me that's in the morning. All I'm going to do is focus on this from 8 to 10 o'clock and implement it. And I'm just going to have to turn off my phone and not have my email on and just remind myself I'll get other stuff done after the fact. But we're all so busy, especially when you get successful. You have to have the self-discipline to make it happen and understand you may do a little bit less business in the short run, but you'll be so happy you did it in the long run.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that it's the stuff that seems, in fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and oh gosh, I can't even think of his name right now. Every woman on the phone is not going to believe it, but the guy who sings the song "Bringing Sexy Back," and they were talking about a process that was boring.
Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake, thank you. and they said that when you do things like put good systems in place for lead generation, incubation, and follow up, it's like bringing unsexy back. Because there's nothing sexy about it. There's nothing exciting about it. So we've got a few things on the screen here. I know we've got a lead tracker. Talk to me about the lead tracker system, how it works and how it helps you. So it looks to me like you have a system where on this left spreadsheet, you're putting all of your leads into the system as they come in. And then maybe over to the right, it's some type of tracking system, tracking function that you have that's part of your lead tracker.
Yes, and so this is an additional system that I incorporated in 2017. So this is separate from Follow Up Boss, or whatever CRM. I don't want to just promote. I mean, there's a lot of great CRMs out there. One of my challenges with my CRM is that it can be cumbersome to sort through, and I needed one-page tracking on what leads came in, who they were assigned to, and if they had been called. And then the lead tracker summary allows me to track what leads come from different sources to what we're closing per source, so I can really get a quick return on investment. So in the beginning, this was, again, another cumbersome system to build and implement, because it's an additional page where you're entering in all the information. However, at any point through the year, I could evaluate what was working and make changes quicker. Whereas prior to 2017, I might try to run these numbers quarterly, but it was a super cumbersome. I mean, I was literally one transaction at a time trying to assign it to different sources and whatnot. So this really gives a snapshot, a one-page snapshot of what's going on, where your leads are coming from, the income from closing these leads, as well as to evaluate kind of where each of my agents are at.
And so if I was an agent on the phone listening today, I would be thinking, okay, yeah, but I logged on so you could give me the secret, so I could learn the secret of what to do, what to say to convert more leads. Are you trying to tell the group that tracking your leads and putting them all into a CRM, so having total accountability, putting them into a CRM, are you saying that that is as important in converting more leads as actually what you're saying and what you're doing? It sounds like you are.
Probably even more important, honestly. So many leads just slip through the cracks, and if I have team members that are following up, I don't always have time. I rarely have time to go in every single day and go through lead by lead to try to figure out what's going on. So this accountability system, it creates a lot of accountability on a one-page snapshot of what everybody on the team is doing. Also allows me to, again, make changes much quicker rather than waiting for me to do reports. I mean, some of the reports that are on this one page, I would only do once a year. So if I needed to make a change, it would be well into the next year before I even realized it.
Got it. And this is a screenshot of Follow Up Boss. And I know that's important, but let me just ask you, when it comes to that lead tracker, and we've had a couple of questions about the lead tracker. That lead tracker is actually a Workman Success Systems tracking program. If you guys stay on and log on to try to get your information, I will make sure that whoever logs on after the call also gets a copy of the lead tracker spreadsheet. It's not there as a free gift now, but I'll make sure Lydia, you and Joe get a copy, and anybody else who wants it. But just having something in place, Christine, so you can say, hey, look, 100 leads came in here. Does that by itself help you create accountability with your agents? So we got 100 leads, and guys, we've only met with 5 or 6 of them. Does that help you, meet face to face with more people and close more sales?
I believe it does. What we do with the lead tracker is each agent assigns an A, B, or C category to those leads. And what the feedback has been from my agents is that one-page report helps remind them as well to be doing what they need to be doing with these leads. So we break them down A, B, or C. Your A is buyer is your one that's ready to buy right now. And if they, if any of my agents, and myself included, have an A buyer or seller, there always needs to be an appointment. And everybody knows that, we're on board. So when we meet and we say, okay, here's your 6 A buyers, do you have an appointment? If not, call and get one. The B buyer is your buyer that's thinking, that they want to purchase in the next 30, 60, maybe 90 days. They definitely want to keep in touch with those buyers twice a month. And then C buyers or sellers are basically everybody else. What my assistant does at the beginning of the week is sends out an email to myself and the team, reminding them what they need to be doing with their leads. So she'll, this Monday she sent out an email that said, need to be calling your B leads this week, which is also a good reminder. Open up your lead tracker, quickly categorize your B leads, make those calls, and let us know when it's done. And so it's a lot less ball dropping. Long story short, prior to the system, I felt like we were dropping balls, not on purpose, where this keeps us on track.
I love it. I love that. And hey, Tim, what if everybody categorized their leads? A, people are ready to go. B, people who are going to buy in the next 90 days. C, people who are going to buy in over 90 days. And what if they just followed the system? And then, Christine, let me ask you, when people are making follow-up, I know Verl Workman teaches the, hey, I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball method. But is what your people saying, does it have to be very complicated when they follow up every other week on a B or once a month on a C, or is it pretty simple?
We keep it pretty simple. Hey, how you doing? Just calling to make sure we're not dropping the ball anywhere. We've sent you some listings. Did you happen to take a look at those? Has anything changed? And it's really, I think we can all get too caught up in scripts. They're great. However, just reaching out to these people and on a regular basis so that they don't feel like you've been forgotten is our goal and our purpose.
I love that. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball. We're getting other questions about the lead tracker. If you want the lead tracker, log on at the end of the webinar and sign up to get the free gifts. I've already sent a note to the people in Salt Lake City to tell them either to get the lead tracker up there for you to download or to send it to you later, so I'll make sure you get it. Two last points, Christine, that you shared with me earlier that I'd love for you to share with the group. And that is, number one, when people ask for information about a property, you guys have a philosophy. If you just overwhelm them with information, a buyer says, I want information on this property, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. Tell us a little bit about that. And then I want you to talk just quickly about your radio stuff and how you do some advertising on the radio and how it really fits into your brand awareness. And it helps you convert more leads because more people recognize your name. So talk to us about both of those things.
Okie doke. So yeah, when a buyer lead comes in, they're typically inquiring about a property. We send them the MLS information. We send them a county report, which we have it available online, but sometimes you can contact your title escrow for that as well. We will send a CMA on the neighborhood. Basically just trying to overwhelm them with, a plethora of information on that property, on that area, with a nice email explaining what we're including, and then, following up with questions on their home search and where they're at in the process. I can't tell you how many responses we get from buyers thanking us and letting us know, they've inquired on many other properties, but never had they received such a professional, thorough response. So I think really taking that next step and providing that exceptional service will set you apart from competition.
Christine, I need to jump in here with a question because this is perfect timing. Just got a question from an attendee. Mm-hmm. Isn't there a danger in giving out too much information because then the prospect won't need you? And I know you think exactly the opposite of that. So talk to us about that.
I believe that the prospect it builds a trust that you're going to go above and beyond and provide excellent service. It can even create a conversation piece when you're following up with a phone call. So I'm not under the belief that the buyers won't need us. I think they need knowledgeable, experienced, service-oriented agents that are going to help them accomplish their goal.
And you've basically said to me, or we've discussed, and I know your philosophy is you just always want to do more than they expect. Joe wrote in, wants to know if you have the actual neighborhood CMA report already prepared, or is that just something that your agents do on the fly as they're communicating with them back and forth through your CRM?
Yeah, we'll tell them. I tell my agents just do a quick, simple CMA. It does not have to be extensive. If somebody inquires about a home in a neighborhood, just pull up the last 12 months of that neighborhood. It takes 2 seconds. The other thing that I have my agents.
I'm so sorry, Christine, but I just got to interrupt. It is something that is so different than what they're expecting from your average agent that, every once in a while I take a bite of something and I'm like, man, I like the flavor of this. And I'll guarantee you it's the same way when they're dealing with you and your agents are like, oh my God, this is different. I love this. I want more of this. I want these people to help me. And what a huge conversion tool. Gosh.
Yeah, it definitely sets you apart. You don't know, somebody might be inquiring about a property because they're interested in selling and they live in the neighborhood and they wanted to know, they saw a sign in the neighborhood. So there's a lot of benefits to providing that CMA. And again, it gives a good conversation piece for the follow-up. Hey, is this what you were looking for? Is this the neighborhood you're interested in? How long's your search been going on? Did you find that market analysis in the neighborhood helpful? It just helps, I guess, promote conversation because it can be awkward sometimes trying to generate conversation with a stranger. The other thing that I think is really important on your online leads that will help with conversion is setting up your prospects to receive new listings as they hit the market within their criteria. So oftentimes, say somebody inquires about a property that's, on the east side of town and it's, $350,000 and it was built in 2006 and it's 1,600 square feet. I will tell my agent, set them up with a basic search with criteria and parameter around the home that they search. So maybe go up 25,000 and down 25,000 in price point. Go up a little bit, 5 years and year built, or go down 5 years and year built. But generally speaking, set them up. Our local MLS, we can set up clients with a portal that will send them new listings as they hit the market. These MLS portals also allow those folks to create their own searches within our MLS. This will, again, this is a task that will take a minute or two, and it will keep those agents in front of those clients again and again and again. So while you want to make a phone call to your C prospects once a month, those C prospects are going to be getting listings from you with your branding and your name throughout the month. And again, it's another conversation piece. Hey, I've been sending you listings, within those parameters, is when you're ready to buy, or is that what you're looking for? Is there something else you're looking for? Would be happy to send you brand new listings that are within your correct criteria. So again, it's really just taking that extra step.
That's right. And just give and give and give good information. Christine, I could keep letting you talk forever and ever. I am learning so much. Unfortunately, we've got to move to Jackie because she's got lots of valuable information. I want to leave everybody, though, from our segment with a comment about you do radio advertising. You spend about $1,500 a month, I think, in the local radio market, and you don't get that much direct benefit from it, although you do. But when you go on a listing appointment or when one of your agents is trying to convert a lead, it helps with the branding, the brand awareness, and you've said it makes a pretty good difference in your ability to convert leads. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think it's a multitude of marketing avenues that creates name awareness, which creates a comfort level for folks. Like, oh yeah, I've heard you on the radio. So while that radio, and in years past I've spent more, I meet with my radio company and come up with a budget. The phone doesn't ring off the hook with my radio ads, but I hear comments from folks all the time, especially these online leads, or even going to the grocery store. They're like, oh, I've heard your radio ads. By the way, I've been thinking about buying a home. So you know.
Brand awareness. I love it. Christine, thank you so much for that. I have gotten a
You
question
bet.
from Jerry, who's trying to get set up on homes.com. Jerry, forgive me. I'm not going to answer that on today's call because this is not about selling homes.com. But if somebody from RIS Media will just make sure that Jerry's question gets over to somebody at homes.com who will take care of them, that would be great. Next, I'm proud to introduce Jackie Egan. She's an associate broker with Keller Williams Classic Realty in Minnesota and a team coach with also Workman Success Systems. She has more than 26 years of experience in real estate. She's also the founder of Rescue, Real Estate Service Center Unlimited, which specializes in creating, executing, and sharing systems, workflows, action plans. And as a kid, Jackie wanted to be a comedian just like Carol Burnett. So when she graduated from college, she moved to Branson, Missouri, talk about guts, and tried stand-up comedy. She was a regular at Mel Tillis's bar. Somehow, Jackie, after meeting you, I figured that you had been at bars in your life. I don't know why. And the bar was called the Mole Hole, and you created a character named Wanda May Kit. But when you say it quickly, it's Wanna Make It. And I think that's pretty cool. Welcome, Jackie.
Hey, thanks, Cleve. I maybe should point out that I was a regular at Mel Tillis's bar doing stand-up, not bellying up to the bar.
I'm sorry. I should have clarified. Well, you are a systems queen, and I'm sorry. I want to get in as much conversation with you as we possibly can. So you are a workflow queen. Talk to us about workflows and everything that you're doing behind the scenes to make sure that your leads all get treated the way they need to be treated.
Yeah, so we firmly believe, and I know it's part of Workman's philosophy too, but if you're doing something in your career, in your job, and you're going to do it more than twice, you need to have a system around it. And so pretty much everything in real estate that you do is repeatable. So we've created a system for basically our entire jobs within our team structure. So I have an amazing assistant. Her name is Kathy, and for the last 2 years, we've been working with a company called RealVolve. So they are a contact management system. They are CRM, but beyond that, they have the ability to create these workflows. And they're basically checklists. So you take your day-to-day activities and you break them down into your step-by-step processes that you do to create your activities. So for example, if you're going to go out on a listing appointment, what do you do to get your day ready for that appointment? You are getting a listing packet put together, you're going to put brochures, you're going to have your business card, you're going to maybe put your marketing pieces in there, you're going to have your listing documents, you're going to have you're going to get some the property disclosures, you're going to have a net sheet, you're going to do maybe you're going to bring a trinket, a promotional item with you, whatever it is. And we have all these things broken down. You might send a reminder text message. Maybe it's an email. Maybe you send a video out of a drone video that you do. Well, we have all these things broken out into a workflow, so it's all automated and done for you. All you do is put in key information, contact information, and you set it, and it basically works and drives itself based on the info you put in there.
You set it and forget it. You set it and forget it, like Ron Popeil used to say. Hey, so let me ask you: do you set up a specific workflow? So if you were to get a lead from Homes.com, as an example, are you saying you would have a workflow or an action plan for that lead? So you put it in the system, you launch the plan, and then maybe it's not doing everything for you, but it's telling you what to do and when to do it?
Yep, exactly. So we have things that'll go out. So the minute we get a lead come in, say a lead comes in for Homes.com, the first thing that happens is we have a bomb video that'll go out that basically is the agent. So if it's me that gets the lead, it's a bomb video that's going to go out that says, "Hey, my name's Jackie. I just received your inquiry about a property. I'm so excited to talk to you. I just want you to know I'm a real person, and I'm going to be in touch with you in the next 15 minutes. And that just goes out, and it just lets them know that you are a real person, that you are going to get back to them. You're not some kind of robot thing that's going to just get a canned thing back. And it just feels real to them. And then you do get back to them within the next 15 minutes. That's what our requirement is on the team. And then you call them, you get information from them, you try and, you do your basic job, you scrub the lead, you find out what it is that they're going to want to do. But then we put them on drip campaigns. We have certain campaigns based on what it is they're inquiring about. Maybe they're really looking to get a market evaluation on their home. They might have come in under the guise as a buyer, but They're calling in, finding out market information on their next door neighbor because they really want to sell their home. So, then they have a campaign that they might get on. Maybe it's just a generic thing because they're still being a little bit soft and they don't want to let you come in and do a market evaluation on their home. But we have Google Sheets that we send out for questionnaires on helping us with what they believe is the value of their home. What are some of the updates they've done on their home? What you're showing now on the screen is actually a reminder that we send out as part of our templated process, that an email will go out reminding them about an appointment we have set up with them for a photographer. So
yeah,
we
so
have
this is
these
like
things.
This is like after they go under contract, and you're doing all of this stuff for while you're trying to convert them through the system as well. Now, you said you send out a Google questionnaire. You mean like a survey? You send a link and then you ask them questions about what's their price range and where they're buying. Do people actually fill that out for real?
You know what? For real, we get a high percentage of people that fill those out because now we're getting a gauge on what do they really think their home is worth. So we don't have to worry and wonder, well, we think their house is probably worth about $300,000, and we're like, jeepers, are they going to think it's worth a $400,000? And they give us approximate. All they have to do is click a button. It says, 3 to 325, 350 to 375. All these different price ranges, and they tell us what some of the updates they've done to the home. So it's real helpful. It gives us a clear indication on some of the things that they feel are important and that they've put value to.
So have you ever tried that on the buyer side of the business? Have you ever tried sending out a little survey to see if buyers would answer?
I'm trying to think if we do have that.
I mean, it seems like it works. I have seen people, as part of the Workman Success System 7-day indoctrination email, one of the first emails says, hey, can you give me a little update? Can you tell me, A, you're just looking, B, you're looking to buy in the next 90 days, C, you're looking to buy in the next year, or D, I should leave you alone and never bother you again. And I'm surprised that people say they get responses to those types of emails. So maybe your survey would work on the buyer side as well. That's
a great idea, Cleve. And that's why you're so smart, and that's why your team is one of the top 10 in Georgia.
No. This is not about me. You turn the focus back to yourself. I just had a question put in from Joe, who wants to know if the Google questionnaire is sent out as soon as the lead comes in. Joe says he does use a Google survey for buyers, and I wish we could actually have Joe be able to talk with us on the call. But I would assume when the lead comes in, you're probably using your surveys a little later in the process. Is that right?
We do not. No, our survey goes out right away. It goes out right away. So it's part of our initial conversion on that. So sometimes we don't have success in getting a hold of them right away. There were some lead programs that we were part of and purchased leads that were seller leads. And so these were the first things that went out to help draw their attention and bring them in. So saying that, we're smarter than your average bear. Nobody was doing this. And so we would ask the right questions to say that we were trying to get very specific on getting a valuation to you. We weren't sending out canned things to you. We were very interested in what you were doing to your home. And so we got specific, and a lot of people filled these out. It was amazing. We were astonished at what the return rate was on these. And it helped us to set appointments.
I love that. We've gotten a question from Marlene saying the sound is pretty bad here in Dallas. And so, Marlene, you're going to have to either move to Bend, Oregon, Minneapolis, Minnesota, or Atlanta, Georgia, and you won't have any problem with you won't have any problems there. Hey, now, let's talk to us about the Agile for just a minute. Now, what we've got on the screen is because I would assume if you're really good at lead generation, incubation, and conversion, you're good at setting up new systems for getting people through the pipeline. And this is a process that you use to set up new systems, new processes. What do you use this for?
Yeah, so Agile, we use it for a couple of different things. The first thing we do is, sometimes we're always building and creating systems. And so the first thing we'll kind of use it for is a real top high level sort of a brain vomit, if you want to just be blunt about it. What do we have? What are we thinking about? Let's just put it all out there and break it down. And then we take the big pieces and we're like, okay, now let's take this big idea and let's really build the to-do list on it. What do we need to do? Who are we going to assign it to? What value? What's important? And what is the biggest thing we need to take on right now? And what are things that can wait? Where are we going to really focus our our team on, and our that ties into our big pillars of business. You know, we try to focus on our 4 pillars of business. What's most important, what's going to draw on our revenue, what are we going to stay focusing towards, that's really making our annual goals and hit those goals. And so we're gonna stick to that. We're gonna build on that, and we're gonna assign those pieces and keep smart with those goals, right? We're gonna get them measurable. We're gonna put dates on those things, and we're gonna make sure everybody stays committed to those. And it's very important to track all that stuff.
And that's the way you're able to have new ideas. You put it on your agile. The ideas you want to do later, you give them a lower number. The ideas you want to do now, you give them a higher number. And that's the way you're able to actually take something from being a good idea to putting it into practice. Because I would love, for example, to do an online buyer survey like you talked about, but I've always got too much other stuff to get in there and do that. Lydia has asked a couple of times, or just one time, by the way, is the whole webinar being recorded? And yes, it is. So don't worry about that. RISMedia will upload it, so you'll all have access to it. You said when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, Jackie, that your philosophy is you're going to follow up until they buy, sell, or die. Yep. I've heard it said, I'll follow up until they either buy or file a restraining order as well. And you can't really mean that, because, you know, ultimately I think well, maybe you do really mean that, but I think ultimately agents are looking for sort of a lay down lead that comes in, somebody that wants to buy or sell and do it fairly quickly. And I've heard people say that every lead is a good lead. It's just a matter of whether or not they're going to buy now or sometime in the future. So do you use that kind of philosophy in your follow-up?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, is people don't understand that every lead is a good lead. You just can't be looking for today's business, because if you do, you're going to miss out on amazing opportunities, because you need to have a plan. You need to stay organized. And the biggest mistake I think people make is expecting every lead to come in to be doing something today. The days of being writing a lead down on the back of a receipt, the back of an envelope, a scratched piece of paper, and hanging on to that are long gone. I started this in 1992, and that's what I used to do. I mean, that was my database, just a bunch of little notes crumpled up in my pocket, and it worked. But now you have to be so organized and detailed and have a CRM and just track everything and be nurturing and being in front of everybody. And you need to stay consistent and persistent with this stuff. You're determined. I mean, a new agent coming out of the blocks, they can be getting just as many leads as an old dog like me, because they are staying in front of them. Just today, I lost a doggone lead to somebody because they told me they wanted to buy in May. And I called her today, left her a voicemail, and she sent me a text about 3 minutes later. And she said, "Oh, I didn't hear from you for so long. I called a friend of mine who knew an agent, and I bought already." I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
But Jackie, think of this. Think of how common that is in everybody's database, their customer list. And so it sounds to me like you're saying you're not going to discriminate against a lead because it acts like it's not a good lead. You're going to treat all leads fairly. What a great concept. What a great concept. Now, I know you're really big, Jackie, once people get into your database, and especially after they become clients, of doing drop buys, pop buys, all that kind of stuff. Talk to us about a couple of those things you do, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about door knocking, because I know everybody is going to faint who's on the call today when they find out you actually still knock doors. But let's talk about that.
Yep. So pop buys are basically, the previous slide that you had was, those are they're just quick little gifts, little items of value that we literally pop by somebody's house. The ones on the left, we just did this Valentine's Day. They're little takeout boxes that have little trinkets, little candies, and little kids items in there. And it just says, "Knowing you is the sweetest part of my business." It's just a reason to stop by somebody's house and pop in and just say, "Hey, we just wanted to stop in and just wish you a happy Valentine's Day and hope you're having a good winter." Just no reason really for the stop. The other one's just like a wrapping paper thing with a thing of tape, and it just says, "Thank you for helping us wrap up a fabulous year." And really nothing intentional behind any of these, just a little something again to stay in front of them. And we built a workflow out of this, again with RealVolve, one of the things we built. So there's 12 of these, 12 months out of the year. It's a year-long plan, and it's just something to stay in front of people with. And again, this gal that I lost today, we did not stop by her place in February.
So wait a minute. I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you saying that you
Yep.
will actually do some pop buys with people that are not yet clients, but have a potential of buying or
yes.
selling in the future? Oh, that is
Yep.
brilliant.
Yep, we do it with our ambassadors. We do our leads just like Christine does, A, B's, and C's. And within our A's and our B's, we put together our ambassadors and champions. Ambassadors are folks that have referred us twice or more, and our champions are people that are going to be referring us. They just haven't yet because they might be clients we're working with that we haven't secured a deal with yet.
Right.
But they know us and love us, and they know we sell real estate. So it's a big deal.
Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me bring Tim in for just 1 second because we're going to run out of time here in the next 5 minutes. Hey, Tim, do you have any numbers, conversion numbers of what people should be converting from online leads? Of every 100 leads that come in, their goal should be to convert X?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what they have set up. I mean, every market's going to be different. I mean, obviously, there's never going to be guaranteed numbers. Well, we don't dictate consumer behavior, but I mean, if you're running volume, I mean, I've seen on average anywhere from 700 to 1,000 impressions. Anywhere from 1 to 3 inquiries. I mean, some platforms are going to, much more of a boom, and then some platforms are just going to be steady and consistent. But the biggest idea here is that, you want to have something in front of the home buyer. And then like we were talking about today, having that system in place. And I think really it's all about response time when you look at it, Cleve. I mean, at the end of the day, how fast are we getting back to these leads? Are these systems efficient enough for us to follow up? Because, all we need is one, right? I mean, if we get that one, that makes up for maybe 100 leads that we're not good or we're not qualified. So I don't have an actual number in terms of conversion rate.
So I'm going to give one. And I think when it's online leads, like a homes.com or anything, your conversion rate needs to be 5% or greater, period. And that needs to be the goal. If you're converting a seller type lead, the conversion might be even better. But I think that's important. And thanks, Tim. I appreciate your insight. We've gotten another question for Jackie, and the Anna wants to know if you deliver the pop by gifts personally, or do you have other people on your team deliver them, or both?
Yep, we do both. I deliver for sure the ambassador ones, those people that are referring the daylights out of us, and a lot of the seller leads that we've been working and trying to get secured to list with us. And then, I mean, it's a mix of all of it. Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about your door knocking. I know you've got a script here. Don't worry about reading the script, guys. I'm going to give you a little advance notice. We're going to give you the actual door knocking script as one of the free giveaways. But talk to us a little bit about door knocking.
Yeah, so it's a drunk monkey for people. You just think that it's old school, it's not going to do anything, and it really is. It's just, you got to go and knock on it. We just use a buyer's need script all the time because of the way the market is right now. So we literally just go up to a door. We have fun with everything we do, or we're not going to do it. So we go up to the doors and we just say, I'm just knocking the doors here right now, and I'm trying to find somebody who's looking to sell their house because we've got a buyer trying to move into the neighborhood here. So who do you know in the neighborhood that's looking to sell their home next? And they're like, oh, I don't know anybody in my neighborhood. Well, seriously, I just talked to this gal down the street. She just moved in recently. Maybe I could introduce you to. Just be human. Have a good conversation with people. I mean, I've had somebody say that, well, I'm never moving. I'm staying in here till they carry me out of the bag. And I'm like, really? Well, do you need help picking out the bag? And we just laugh about stuff. And
what's interesting, Jackie, and I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you and Christine have sort of the same flavor in that you're building these relationships. You're building these long-term relationships. Your follow-up with your leads is not about converting and finding a buyer you can work with today. It's about finding someone you can connect with long-term. And sounds to me like you plan to be doing transactions with them 10 years from now, not just today.
Oh, seriously, this lady who said she's going out in a bag, I sent her a coupon for Ziplocs when I sent her a thank you note. I sent her a funny little thing, and I said, this probably isn't the right size, because we sat and talked at her door forever, but literally this conversation that day, I went out, I had an hour and 50 minutes, I knocked on 41 doors, talked to 19 people, I got 2 listings out of the deal, and so far that is going to be turning into 9 transactions, and there's going to be more coming out of that. You can see the numbers on the bottom, and there's going to be more spinning off of those when those 5 are going to come on now this year. It's just crazy. It works.
I love
you
it.
just got to get out there.
It's because you're taking a longer-term view. Hey, Tim, if everybody took a long-term view at incubating and converting online leads, would the world be different from a conversion rate standpoint?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And they're not just a number. They're somebody who is going to have a home and their family's going to live in a home and all of that kind of good stuff. Jackie, thank you so much. Your information is amazing, and I can tell you that you probably should be Carol Burnett someday. Christine, thank you so much for all of your information. And Tim, I appreciate you chiming in during the call as well.
Oh, that's exciting. Thank you, guys.
We've answered most of the questions. Now, we've got 2 free gifts. I've also sent a note back to the people in Salt Lake City saying that anybody who downloads these gifts will either upload the lead tracker for you to be able to get it when you go in there today, or we will have somebody send it to you separately. But don't worry, I will make sure you get it. But if you go to workmansuccess.com/agent systems, let me give that to you one more time, workmansuccess.com/agent systems, you can download for free Jackie's door knocking script and Christine's ABCs of lead management, how you categorize them as A, B, C, how you follow up, and then some brief scripting information of what you say to which prospect when. Again, Tim, Christine, Jackie, thank you so much for giving of your personal time to be on today's call.
Thank you.
Thanks to Homes.com for sponsoring today's webinar. It is 1 minute after 4, and I am not one who likes to be late, so I will sign off. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cleve, amazing job today. I wanted to throw that in there for you. You did great.
Hey, thanks, Tim. It was a pleasure being on with you.
Thanks. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.